Namaste and welcome to this very special edition of The Right Stand, and we are building up to our 75th Independence Day. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Behind me on the backdrop and also on the screen you see the tricolor. This represents and gives us a feeling of our national flag, but this is not our national flag because the Ashoka Chakra is missing in the center, and there is a reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, because the flag code has its own parameters and its garima, and that is something which cannot be toyed with. But the three colors, saffron, white and green, mean a lot to us, doesn't it? For everybody, it's defined differently. But what it symbolizes is one nation. A nation for which many laid their lives down, a nation for which many strive hard, a nation for which many will willingly, voluntarily and happily lay down their lives even today. And it's a nation and it's a flag that symbolizes those who'd rather be wrapped around it than see it trampled. That's the spirit, ladies and gentlemen, when we say this is what the Tiranga means to us. I hope you remember during the Olympics how Neeraj Chopra folded the Tiranga after the medal ceremony. That is the respect that each one of us needs to give to this Tiranga. So when then there are few who try to politicize the Tiranga, who try to use and try and pick and choose their individual perceptions of the Tiranga and their own ideology, when all you need to do is celebrate the idea of being one country. We may all have our differences, political differences, ideological differences, opinion differences, taste, cultural differences, but this country, this tricolor unites us. Can there be any difference? How does it matter which party you belong to as long as you hold the flag of India? So when the parliamentarians decide that we should have a Tiranga rally to celebrate, how can it be, ये तो BJP का rally है, हम अपनी rally करेंगे? Why should the BJP turn around and scoff and say, देखा opposition का कोई नहीं आया, rather than say, no, we want you to come here. I am going to park my bike outside your house till the time you sit with me and celebrate the fact that we are one country, one people. So this one-upmanship about who owns the tricolor, who can appropriate the tricolor, or who actually feels for the tricolor more, is that fair, ladies and gentlemen, or is that what is happening? Or has some people or some sections of our polity decided that no matter what PM Narendra Modi and his government propose, we will oppose? And those lines are blurred between ideology and India. So even if it means that, okay, we will scoff at the Tiranga, we would perhaps indirectly scoff at the idea of India itself, it's all right, so be it, as long as it meets our own political agenda. Does that make sense? Let's try and understand and we'll get into the debate. But this is what is the whole thought process. Why, where, when Har Ghar Tiranga is necessary in our 75th year of independence.
सबको लिखी, उनको बुलाया गया, लेकिन उसके बावजूद अगर नहीं आए तो मैं चाहता हूँ ये उनका नुकसान है, लेकिन देश तो आगे बढ़ेगा।
तिरंगा तो हम सबकी आन बान और शान है, उसमें पार्टी का और इन सब चीजों के कोई मायने नहीं है।
हम लोग अपना अपना मनाएंगे, ये बीजेपी का अपना पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा कैसे लेंगे?
So let's try and understand. What is the government saying? What is the opposition saying? It's about celebrating the Tiranga, but there are political daggers that are out. There's politics over our tricolor, ladies and gentlemen. The opposition says, why should we accept BJP's political agenda? वो अपना झंडा लगाएंगे, हम अपना झंडा लगाएंगे. The government stand, it's not a party program, it is an event for India. All of parliament together should have been part of it. The opposition is saying Tiranga is being used as a political tool. They are saying Rashtra-niti is above Rajniti. That's what the government's position is. And then the government here is saying flag of Parivar Tantra is now becoming bigger than Lok Tantra. But then here comes the jibe. RSS didn't unfurl the Tiranga at Nagpur for 52 years. Is waving the flag equal to patriotism? Jhanda le raha hoonga tabhi deshbhakt hu. That's the question that's being asked. Time to set aside ideology for the pride of Bharat, not off, for the pride of Bharat, ladies and gentlemen. That's the point of view. They're saying किसने कब झंडा लहराया नहीं लहराया is not the point. आज क्या point है? What do you believe in our 75th year? Does this tricolor matter to you? Are you committed to the tricolor? Are you putting the nation first and the tricolor first? And is not the flag the symbol, the foremost symbol of nationhood, to instill nationhood? Let's dive into the debate. Why choose ideology over Bharat is a question that we are asking. I have Sujata Paul, leader of the Congress Party, SP Vaid, former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir with us, and Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP, also should be joining us. Let me start with Mr. SP Vaid. When somebody says, ये अपना झंडे की पार्टी कर रहे हैं, हम हमारे झंडे की कर लेंगे. What does this make you feel, sir?
See, as a soldier, I feel insulted because for us, Chanda is one spirit of India. And our Jawans die for this flag. And this is one Indian national flag, irrespective of the caste, color, creed, or region you belong. The Jawan does not say, I am a Tamilian or I am a Mizoram, I am a Kashmiri, I am a Muslim or Hindu. I think political parties need to learn from these Jawans who lay down their life for these national monuments like national flag. And you may have different programs, you may have different ideologies, you may have different programs for the people, your policies, but nation is one. After all, nation, the national flag represents the nation, and if nation remains only, then we all have our existence, and flag represents that spirit of one India. And I think political parties need to take cue from the security forces, their Jawans. We have no doubt about their commitment to the country, but in the process of criticizing each other, they forget that they are ultimately damaging the country.
But let me ask you, Mr. Vaid, is it necessary that only families where they are from uniform, that they hail from any form of uniform, only they should know what the Tiranga means? If that is the case, then सारे politicians से जबरदस्ती national service कराइए sir एक साथ.
No. Politicians have rather much more role in this country. They are the leaders. They lead the future generations. And we all draw a lot of inspiration from political leaders. Unfortunately, what is happening is that you are trying the blurred line between the national identity and the political identity is getting blurred. So we need to distinguish between what is my nation and what is in the interest of my country. What is my country's future course? What is my country trying to achieve together as everyone, all Indians together? That is one spirit. But you may have different programs as political parties. You may have different programs for different ideologies. But I think as one nation, we are all together. We are all one Indian nation. And this, I think we all should be one. And political parties have a great role to play. And rather, we all look towards them. So my humble request is, a civilian is a soldier in civil dress in this country, and he has as much respect and role for the national flag as any soldier has.
Sujata Paul?
Mr. Vaid, with all due respect, I think you should keep your advice for yourself and not dole out advice to every political party. Because today it is the entire opposition that we are talking about. And why is it that the entire opposition has not been taken on board by the government in spite of their invitations? The reason is there is a trust deficit, and this is a democracy. And we want this democracy to remain thriving. And that is the reason why such a situation has come. But you will not tell who to celebrate the Tiranga and how. My Tiranga, my pride. That is something that remains the common thing, common factor for everyone across the country. And if somebody is celebrating it in a particular way and is not going with the government, you can't question their feelings about the Tiranga. You want the country to follow one party also, because today it is the BJP party which is not only leading the country, but it is given a government which has not been able to be the party which is giving a government to everybody, irrespective of which party, which ideology, which religion, which community they come from. And that is the reason for it. So that must be questioned as well. The feeling of patriotism cannot be questioned whether a particular person belongs to the ruling party or somebody else. It is the government's responsibility to get everybody together. They have failed in doing so, but please do not question my feeling for my Tiranga like I would not like to question yours.
Ms. Sujata Paul, you're most welcome to make your argument. And despite your deference or to Mr. S.P. Vaid, the way you started, I take objection to that, ma'am, and I request you to please, you can use whatever political jibes at the political opponent, that is Ms. Sanju Verma, but to speak in that tone with Mr. S.P. Vaid was perhaps perhaps a little beneath you, and it was not expected from you. But your arguments well taken, well considered. We may agree, disagree with that argument. Here the simple point is, ma'am, that if somebody turns around and says this is for the country and we are doing a Tiranga Yatra, then it does not become of a particular party. By not taking part, and here is my humble point of view, by not taking part in the Tiranga Yatra, you have allowed this to become a BJP event. You have allowed the BJP to appropriate saying that we are the party which are considering, and the opposition has not done it. The other point of view, ma'am, that when the parliament and when there is an invitation that is sent out to every parliamentarian, that is the biggest gesture that the government is doing. Let's come and celebrate this together. The opposition could have come out in droves and actually celebrated it better and bigger than the BJP and made it about them, saying we care about the tricolour more and that's why we are raising the people's voice. But you lost the plot and the narrative there. That's the point. But Sanju Verma, the opposition says it's the government's responsibility to take everybody on board. But you were unable to take them on board because there is a trust deficit.
You know, Anand, I think when it comes to trust deficit, there is no deficit from this end, as in from the Modi government's end, but there is certainly a lot of trust deficit from the opposition's end, and I will substantiate that with logic. A little over 2 years back, the Bhumi Pujan of the Central Vista project was done, and the entire opposition was invited. And it is, with much anguish that I have to say that barring the Biju Janata Dal and a few other members from the AIA-DMK, most of the opposition members chose to boycott that event. Then, we had the Constitution Day celebrations last year, and the entire opposition was invited. And again, on Constitution Day, barring a few stray members from the opposition, they chose to boycott the proceedings, lock, stock and barrel. Now, when it comes to, commissioning and inaugurating the new lion emblem on top of the new parliament building, which will be ready in a couple of months from now, again, the entire opposition was invited, but they chose not to attend. And then later on, they started whining. So the opposition has its politics based on two pillars. When you invite them, they do not engage. When you do not invite them, they choose to play victimhood. So victimhood and selective outrage. These are the two standard operating procedures of the opposition. यदि हमको बुलाया है, हम जाएंगे नहीं, पर हम रोएंगे बाद में और मोदी सरकार को कोसेंगे जरूर. और यदि हमको नहीं बुलाया, तब तो खैर रोना धोना वैसे ही है. So selective outrage does not work. Selective criticism is not going to work. And consistently criticizing the government even on matters of national interest, where we should be cutting aside any differences based on ideology or political affiliations and come together. I think that is the need of the hour. I mean, when you're talking of 75 years of independence, come on, Anand, as any honest, sane, tax-paying Indian, aren't we proud of the martyrdom of thousands of Swatantra Sainik? Aren't we proud of the valor, the sacrifice of, what all it took to finally come to this day, where today India runs the world's largest vaccination drive, India runs the world's largest financial inclusion program called Jan Dhan Yojana. India ran the world's largest food security program called Garib Kalyan Yojana. India today has the world's largest healthcare scheme. Even Obamacare called Ayushman Bharat.
No.
There's a lot to be proud of.
No. It's not just the government schemes that needs to be proud of. No matter what, where we belong to, we owe our existence and our identity to this country. That's simple, basic matter to be proud of. And this has been something that our forefathers, foremothers, all of them have fought, given their sweat, toil and blood. And to respect that, we have to keep the tricolour above all. SP Vaidji, a lot of people have noted the tone that was used for you by one of our panelists. And on behalf of the panelists, I regret and I apologize, sir. You're a very, very senior officer, and that tone should not have been undertaken. I have made my objections very humbly and very politely, registered them with Ms. Sujata Paul, and I leave it to her if she'd want to take back that tone while she holds her argument. But Mr. Vaid, this is the point. How does it matter? You should use every opportunity to showcase what the country means to you. Here what is happening is, I believe in this kind of India, and that's why I will show the Indian flag in the hand of one particular Prime Minister and not another Prime Minister. I will show the Indian flag with another flag because that's how I see the Indian flag associated with. Why can't you just see the flag for what it is? The identity of our country.
I have all the respect for Madam Sujata Paul. I have no problem in our comments. My only thing is, we have done our whatever role I had to play in the national security, and now fading away in the oblivion of life. My only request is that I am looking forward to my future generation of Indians to be led by political parties, future generation who have nation in their heart, and who may have political programs differing, may have ideologies different. I did not mention any particular party. For me, I have equal respect for all the political parties, and they have been in the ruling dispensation now, as other parties were earlier. We had the opportunity to work with all the political establishments, and they have given leadership to this country. And for this national flag, I think the 75th Amrit Mahotsav, it is for everyone, all of us, all irrespective of political parties, ideologies, regions, religions, and we all need to be participant in this 75th year of independence, and it is a tribute to those who laid down their life to get this freedom.
Sujata Paul. Can you hear me, Sujata Paul? Oh, we lost the audio. The audio is disconnected. So let's just get her back. See, this is another counter. Those who never unfurled the flag, their political offshoot are now talking about honoring the flag. Sanju Verma. RSS for 52 years never unfurled the flag. Aaj bada tiranga kar rahe hain. Who are they to try and appropriate and teach the country what the tricolour means? How would you respond to all of this? Sanju Verma, can you hear me? Oh, we seem to have lost both Sujata Paul and Sanju Verma's audio lines through. So we'll try and get them back. But SP Vaidji, one more aspect in Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes.
Will there be people who will perhaps explain to the to such netas what the tricolour means? In Assam, will there be people? In Maharashtra, in Kerala, will there be people on ground who will? Have you seen this kind of disassociation with the tricolour and putting their own particular ideology, thought process over and above the tricolour? Have you seen this manifest beyond just political parties?
See, as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, a vast majority of people have huge respect for the national flag, and I can vouch for it. There could be people, minuscule minority who have their own ideology, but national flag, respect. It commands the respect of a vast majority of Jammu and Kashmir people. And same thing I have seen in other parts of the country, whether it is Assam or Tamil Nadu. I studied in Tamil Nadu. The huge respect for the national flag in this country. Maybe people, initial years of the independence, national flag was not, everyone could not, display it or could not unfurl in their individual houses and in their individual buildings. Only after the Supreme Court, that government order and Supreme Court's order, this actually was allowed. And I think as far as respect for the national flag is concerned, there is huge respect. You could see that on the Independence Days, on the Republic Days, how people all across the country, in huge numbers, celebrated those two, both Independence Day and Republic Day. And that is the kind of response Indians across religions, across regions, across caste lines, across political spectrum have with respect for the national flag.
Now I have the ladies back, Mr. Vaid, so let me go back to them and ask them the questions. Sometimes there are debates that you'd love to do, there are debates that you want to and you really want to get into the argument, but there are debates which sometimes you're pained to see that, the Tiranga is being politicized. I've got so many of our viewers who are responding to me. Some of them are friends of mine, some of them are co-panelists or panelists who are saying, what is this country coming to and what is the opposition doing? So they had the opportunity to celebrate and say we put the country first and they have lost it. And then there are others, Sanju Verma, who are turning around and asking me this question, and I'll ask you again. So who is the BJP as a political offshoot of the RSS to claim anything about the Tiranga? Because the RSS itself did not fly the Tiranga for 52 years.
Anand, I'm so glad you asked me this question. In fact, I saw this coming. I completely debunked this false narrative that RSS did not hoist the tricolor for 52 years. There is a very nice article in Swarajya full of facts. And, just quoting a few lines from that article. In fact, way back in 1937, the much maligned Veer Savarkar was one of the very few to hoist the Indian flag in Pune. This was in 1937. And it is said that in 1936, after the faithful session of the Congress, while some leaders of the Congress were averse to hoisting the flag because us time Bhagwa Dhwaj tha, we did not have the flag in its current form. Mr. Keshav Baliram Hedgewar actually hoisted the tricolor after the faithful session of the Congress in 1936. And this is not Sanju Verma saying it. This is there in the works of Deen Dayal Upadhyay Institute, and this is also mentioned by K.R. Malkani, one of the very famous public intellectuals. He's written a whole lot of books saying that the RSS actually was the first one to respect the flag. Or aapko aur ek cheez bata do, before officially we got independence on 15th August 1947, and interim government under Jawaharlal Nehru was already in place 6 months prior to that.
Yes.
And do you know, when Jawaharlal Nehru was the interim Prime Minister, he was given an option, but he chose not to hoist the tricolor, Anand. He chose to salute and hoist the Union Jack. So this whole narrative, कि भाई स्वतंत्र संग्राम पर सिर्फ कांग्रेस की ठेकेदारी है, ये narrative, so this has been completely.
See, I'll tell you what. But here is my point. Even as Sujata Paul comes, what happened before 1947? What happened in 36, 37, 38, 39? What happened even in 2007, 2008? What happened even with the Supreme Court verdict or till the Supreme Court verdict of 2001 when the flag code? And that again, you have to give a credit to a Congress leader in Naveen Jindal, because who approached the Supreme Court and got the verdict and got the flag code modified, that private institutions and establishments could also unfurl the flag. But there is a flag code. My point is, what is the code for the politicians? My point is, Sujata Paul, why is it that the opposition will politicize everything and oppose everything? Why can't the opposition come out in bigger numbers and turn out and say, you think you can take out a rally? Come, we'll join you and we'll show you how to take out a rally. You could have done it together. And that could have been healthy one-upmanship.
No, first of all, let me be very clear. You will not tell me what my tone and tenor is going to be. And I have utmost respect for Mr. Ved, and I'm sure I did not use any unparliamentary word
No, it's the
or
tone.
cast any
It's the
aspersions
tone.
on him. Hang
No,
on,
no,
hang on.
it's the tone, Miss Sujata Paul. And the fact is that just like you are the tone that
This
you
is a
use to
debate,
try and
and you will not
instruct
tell
to
me.
me,
Stop
instruct me and
being,
say you will not
the
tell me what
speaker.
tone to use. Ma'am, this
Yeah.
is my show, this is my debate, you are
No,
my
but you
guest
will
and
not
panelist,
dictate
and
terms.
you
Are you
will
becoming Mr.
show
Modi?
equal respect, because if you want
Can
to be
I-
treated with
I
respect,
am
you will accord
showing
the same
the
respect, Ms.
utmost
Sujata Paul.
respect to every
So
panelist,
the
every
condescending
panelist.
tone is the issue. It's not
No,
the
it
words.
is not.
It's the tone that
No,
you
no,
use,
no,
ma'am.
let me come
And
to
that's
your
what
point.
I very, very respectfully raised objection to, and I
on,
continue
Anand,
to
let me
object.
come to your
And if you
point.
continue to remain unapologetic, then you are only displaying the behavior of the rest of the opposition as was on display at the Tiranga
The
rally
rest
today.
of the opposition, 22 crore people voted for the BJP in 2019. Not everybody. All
Correct.
right. Now coming to
But those who voted for the rest of the
those
those who voted for the opposition are also
Hang
looking
on.
at them and saying, what are they doing?
But listen, but I'm very proud of the fact that in spite of the fact that you and I have argued on what happened before independence regarding the Tiranga, and I'm not going into that at all. You have Ms. Verma talking about how they hailed the Tiranga, while you actually explained to me on another show that there was a reason why they did not
Correct.
want the
It was
Tiranga.
post the independence that the flag code came into play.
But-
Once the constitution was drafted and the flag code was put in place. So then you know the answers to the arguments that you raised, but you still raise those arguments, Sujata ji. Kya kar rahe hain aap?
listen, no,
The
I'm
other
not
aspect
raising
is, how does I am asking you today? Let me ask you today. Why should, if अगर आनंद बोलेगा तो अपोज करेंगे, कोई और बोलेगा तो कर
अरे
देंगे.
सुनिए,
What kind of
सुनिए
attitude
तो.
is this?
Arey, Mr. Narasimhan, listen to me. What I'm saying is I feel extremely proud that you disconnected me again.
No,
I
we've
feel
not disconnected you.
extremely proud
Please, now
that
that is also
BJP
blamed on us. A
thinks of
technological
the
fault is a
Tiranga
technical
as its
fault,
own
ma'am.
today.
That's not something which is
That
deliberate.
is what I am saying.
Kamal kar rahe ho aap.
And if they are taking out a rally, well,
They
it's
were
a
not
welcome
taking out a
sign.
rally.
It means
That's
they've
exactly
learned
what I'm
to
trying to tell you.
respect the national
Arey,
symbols because
Sujata
they've
ji, you
accepted
missed
them.
the wood
And
for
they
the
know
woods
they
for the
cannot do
trees.
anything without
The
them.
parliamentarians,
Again.
the parliamentarians were taking out the rally. It
Can
was
you hear
not
me?
the BJP. It were the parliamentarians taking out the rally, and with half of the opposition parliamentarians who represent the opposition political parties being absent, it became a BJP rally. You allowed it to become a BJP rally, ma'am.
आप मुझे डिस्कनेक्ट क्यों कर रहे हैं बार-बार?
कोई आपको डिस्कनेक्ट नहीं कर रहा है, वो टेक्निकल फॉल्ट है. अब ये टेक्निकल फॉल्ट आपको भी सुनाई दे रहा है. अब ये टेक्निकल फॉल्ट सिर्फ आज हमारे फोन लाइन में है कि ऑपोजिशन की सोच में है. दैट आई लीव फॉर द व्यूअर्स टू डिसाइड. But Mr. Vaid, would you not agree that what would you have done had you been a politician? I'm not even saying you are one. I'm saying had you been a politician, you would have said, चलो हम और ज्यादा नंबर में जाते हैं और इनको देशभक्ति हम सिखाते हैं.
Yes, I would have done that. In fact, opposition के जाने से उनका बड़पन दिखता, उनका बड़ापन दिखता, और इनफैक्ट रूलिंग पार्टी को ओवरऑल कर सकती थी अपोजिशन अगर वो जाते वहां, और नहीं जाने से इट बिकेम ऑल बीजेपी शो एंड इट वुड हैव बीन यूनाइटेड शो ऑफ द होल पार्लियामेंटेरियंस इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ पार्टी लाइंस. कितना बढ़िया मैसेज था फॉर द कंट्री. दैट्स माय
No, absolutely, and the opposition could have led the whole party. They could have had more
suits
people
the
on the
BJP.
bikes, and they could have, opposition could have
No,
led the
it
whole.
suits the BJP.
Madam, may I come in,
Parliamentarians हैं, parliamentarians कोई भी हो, सब तो कर सकते थे. But the point is that they have not done it. I have run out of time. But what we're going to do?
Suits the BJP.
So. No, it suits your attitude suits the BJP. When I say your attitude,
Yes.
the opposition's
No,
attitude
BJP
suits the
wants the
BJP.
country to be divided.
The opposition's
So it suits the
attitude.
BJP.
ये
The Khadi flag is what
बीजेपी
we
का
do,
ये
not
कहावत है हिंदी में
polyester.
कि चिढ़ते को चिढ़ाएंगे,
खादी,
दूध मलाई खाएंगे. ये
खादी
वैसे ही
का
हो रहा
खादी
है.
चाहिए,
जितना आप
खादी
चिढ़ोगे
का
उतना आपको
झंडा
चिढ़ेंगे, और
चाहिए,
फिर
खादी का तिरंगा
आप ही
चाहिए
अलाउ कर रहे हो.
मेरे
मैं
भाई.
हर बार आपको ये कह रहा हूँ, the
खादी का
opposition
तिरंगा,
opposition is
plastic का
falling for
नहीं,
this by
pollution
trying
नहीं
to
करना
oppose
है.
everything that the BJP proposes. You are actually helping them. You should actually say we'll do it better than you and you should go ahead and participate in wholeheartedly. It's about India. It's not about an ideology. All right, I have to wind up. Sujata Paul, Sanju Verma, SPYG, thank you very much. I'm going to request you, if you have the time, along with our other viewers at 8:50 p.m., do join us back on the right stand. At 8:50 p.m., we're going to have the Tiranga quiz. Do you know your tricolor? We'll play the quiz tonight in a short while from now. Right now, queuing up debate number 2, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a big security threat for us, ladies and gentlemen. And what we are given to understand is that the Al-Qaeda chief was actually betrayed. And that's how he was neutralized. Ayman al-Zawahiri's killing in Sherpur in Kabul, not so far away from the Indian embassy, not so far away from the US embassy, not so far away from the Canadian-Iranian embassy in Kabul, should have surprised a lot of people. But what if we tell you that his location here at Sherpur was actually leaked to the US authorities by the Pakistanis, who got the information from one of the factions within the Taliban. Jalaluddin Haqqani, Sirajuddin Haqqani's father, and Ayman al-Zawahiri worked together. So Sirajuddin Haqqani was aware of Ayman al-Zawahiri's presence. But Sirajuddin Haqqani, while speaking with us, turned around and said that the Al-Qaeda is as good as dead 15 hours before the strike happened. Did Sirajuddin Haqqani not know that Ayman al-Zawahiri was there at a house which is alleged to be one of his aides' house, Sirajuddin Haqqani's aide's house, right in the heart of the secret services in Afghanistan? Did other factions like the Mullah Yaqub faction or the Mullah Omar faction, did Muttaqi and other leaders divulge this information for the 25 million bounty and of course some relief that Pakistanis would get from the IMF? Lot of questions are there, but we are given to understand that the information was leaked. This is a big mega exclusive that we are bringing to you here. Now, consensus in the Taliban that Pakistan leaked the location to the Americans. Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Muttaqi is one of those who could have leaked the location to the Pakistanis. Sirajuddin Haqqani, the only one aware of Zawahiri hidden in Kabul. Zawahiri, we are given to understand, was moved from Karachi via the Chaman area into Kabul sometime in November-December 2021. Afghan Taliban perhaps made this to spite the Haqqani group, because there is a fight between the Afghan Taliban and of course the Pakistani influence and those who have been positioned there. That's the Haqqanis who have bulk of the control in the establishment right now. Taliban is currently in a huddle to try and decide what should be their response, because a lot of them are also shocked. Now, this is what happens with the Zawahiri leak. To secure 25 million bounty for Pakistan, these were the motives. The other aspect is IMF loans and FATF clearances for Pakistan. The third one, to protect against US bounty. Sirajuddin Haqqani could have escaped and vested interests in Pakistan. Amir Muttaqi and Mullah Yaqub. Amir Muttaqi has real estate interests in Pakistan. So there is also another aspect. And fifth is the internal rift. The internal rifts in the Taliban, Mullah Omar faction and the Haqqani faction. So there are two different groups within the Taliban itself. Mind you, Sirajuddin Haqqani and about 40 of the Taliban leaders within the government have all moved to Khost or to Logar. Logar is about 40 kilometers from Kabul. Say 4 to 6 armored vehicles is what Sirajuddin Haqqani used to run away, because he also has a bounty on his head. So were they trying to finish him off too? That is the thought process. So who gave up Zawahiri? Did Pakistan and the Taliban give up Zawahiri? And the larger question, can these entities be trusted if they are so conniving and they can betray their own? I have Ambassador Gurjeet Singh joining us this evening, Major General Sanjay Meston and Ambassador Ashraf Hydari also with us. Namaste, greetings, gentlemen, thank you very much. And Ambassador Gurjeet Singh, I'm going to first ask you, how big a concern should this be for us as India, because we are trying to engage with the people of Afghanistan. We are trying to engage with this Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan.
Yes, this is a very interesting time. And you rightly said India is trying to engage with Afghanistan. So there are essentially two aspects. One is the geostrategic aspect, and then there is the humanitarian and economic aspect. And India is trying to engage on the second one, the humanitarian and economic aspect, in the hope of getting a certain amount of leeway into the geostrategic aspect. Now, what happens here is that evidently the Taliban has not given up on supporting terrorism. And Zawahiri is not the only example. Look at the battle between them and Pakistan over the TTP. So cross-border terrorism is not dead in Afghanistan, but India is trying to find a way through. Certainly, the finding Zawahiri and assassinating him in Afghanistan, in the heart of the green zone, I think should make India more cautious, because the Taliban is difficult to trust. There are too many players going their own way between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
True, but let me ask you, Hestonji, how does this affect us? And Sanjay Mestonji, my point is that if you look at it, this means that they can turn on each other at any point in time. And who do you trust then? And if there is so much of a rivalry between, and if there is so much of a divide and a tussle between the Logar group and the Khost group, or the Pakistani or the Haqqanis and the Afghan Taliban, so then things will never be settled.
Anand, absolutely true. You know, during my tenure in Afghanistan for almost 3 years, that is from 2011 to 14, I had the opportunity to interact with many Afghans over there, including some retired, not retired, some people who had left the Taliban then. And somehow I also met the classmate of Mullah Omar. Now, my understanding is that in Afghanistan, by and large, money is a very, very important factor. And there is a saying that with the change of wind direction, and whoever offers the maximum money, people are subject to be manipulated. And this strategy was adopted by British when they were ruling over British India very successfully to divide the Afghans. Now, therefore, that policy continues. The policy has been learnt very well by Pakistan, and therefore they have been the biggest manipulators in this entire game. And if you recollect, Haqqani was the one. The Indian blood is in his hands. He was the one who had killed a defense attaché and the first attaché in the Embassy of India, Kabul bombing on July 7, 2008. So what I'm trying to highlight that I have really seen on ground, there is lot of problems amongst the various factions, and Afghanistan is known for this. In fact, I've heard from the Afghans, he is from so-and-so nationality, not even tribe.
Yeah.
They say nationality. So anyway, to leading on to all that, the rivalries will continue. There are lot of aspects into this. People, especially in, for example, in Kandahar and Jalalabad, Nangarhar area, amongst Pashtuns, even the dialect is totally different, and they also have a lot of difference. So even in Helmand and Kandahar, I found there is a lot of difference. So this tribal rivalry continues, and this is what the entire essence in Afghanistan is. And this has been exploited by most of the foreign powers, including, I would say, CIA, KGB, and everyone. Now, this is the essence. Now, coming on to the question, whether we can rely on Taliban, I personally feel not at all. We should not get into this binding trap, because the same Taliban, they can ditch anyone, all these, whether it is Haqqani and all, and you even recollect when the formation of this illegitimate government was to take place, the DG ISI was there.
Yes.
He was interested that the Home Ministry should go to Sirajuddin.
Yeah.
And if you recollect, in the presidential palace, there was infighting among these people, and there was, I think, Mullah brother was injured. So this is the kind of thing, and their interest will continue to clash. Therefore, my take is, as a nation, India should not rely on Taliban. However, what the ambassador has made a point, and I substantiate, the interest of the people of Afghanistan is of prime importance to us. How we engage with the people, I think there has to be some kind of an independent agency through the United Nations organization. I do not know how that's a feasibility, because there is actually a United Nations assistance mission in Afghanistan. So they, including the UNHCR, etc., they have to take a leading role in this. And you look at Taliban, 1 year has happened. Even they have, not gone to the extent of having an inclusive government. No leader in the system, outsider has been taken. So government, perhaps illegitimate government, may not even last. And this kind of a problem will continue. The inter-factional rivalry, the tribal rivalry will continue, and none of them can be trusted. So I don't see a very good future for Afghans as a nation, and therefore for India to engage with Taliban, I strongly feel we should not fall into the trap, because reliability is zero. And how do we trust them? They are the ones who have 9/11 occurred during their time.
No,
they can't be trusted in any manner.
No, they can't be trusted, because they seem to be saying a different story or a different narrative. They certainly have become far more eloquent and very clear with in terms of adept at trying to talk the talk. Now, will they walk the talk? That's another question. I'm going to just request my team at the back end to just pull out one of the excerpts on Al-Qaeda, what Sirajuddin Haqqani told CNN News 18. Now, Ambassador Haidari, what we did is we recorded an interview on the 29th, that's last Friday, and Sirajuddin Haqqani, and we asked him this question very clearly on Al-Qaeda and Daesh. And what he said is that the Al-Qaeda is defunct, it's no longer a very strong, it's a spent force, and it's as good as dead. And 15 hours later, Ayman al-Zawahiri is found in Sherpur and is neutralized by a drone strike with the Hellfire. So there are multiple ways to look at it. But my larger concern is now more information comes that he was actually moved in December 2021 from Karachi to Kabul. So clearly the Pakistanis are shifting their terror outfits and the terrorists they are harboring out of Pakistan into Afghan soil. That doesn't bode well for Afghanistan. Ambassador Haidari, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
now.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, my reaction is that at the end of the day, the people of Afghanistan have been suffering for the past 40 plus years from extremism and terrorism, and its sponsorship by different countries, but in particular Pakistan. Pakistan is a state actor as sponsored the Taliban. We know created them in 1994 as a non-state militant extremist terrorist actor to seek and achieve strategic depth in Afghanistan. And alongside that, they have, of course, sponsored, created, launched, operated a number of other terrorist groups out of Pakistan, and increasingly relocated them into Afghanistan, especially over the past 20 years. Now, with the fall of the Islamic Republic, they have achieved one of their principal goals, to have one of their non-state actors acting on their behalf in order to advance their strategic objectives to take over Afghanistan, in gross violation of the United Nations Charter, which unfortunately the international community watched and took no action. And as a result, this non-state actor has been sheltering and operating side by side other non-state actors, both global, which is Al-Qaeda. The links are very clear, ideological, operational, over the past 20 years, and it dates back even to the Jihad era back in the 80s, and as well as others in Afghanistan, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, ETIM focusing on China, and IMU, Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, focusing on Central Asia, and Russia. So the United States has always been aware of this over the past 20 years. They've had very good intelligence presence. This is nothing new. It has not surprised Afghans. Like I said, Afghans have always been a primary victim of these games, unfortunately. Now that it has happened, this will not change anything for the people of Afghanistan. This leader will soon be replaced, probably by another lethal and more extremist and dangerous element from its now decentralized ranks across Afghanistan, which has been operating under the Taliban, which I, in fact, highlighted in one of my recent articles published in the National Interest, describing life under the Taliban, how the Taliban are not only, violating human rights of Afghans, especially women, but also those terrorists, including Al-Qaeda, that have been operating alongside of them. Right. So now we come to what the international community should do about the fact that the Taliban is a non-state actor, far from even a de facto government, which the United Nations Assistance Mission, unfortunately, defines and labels as a way probably to gain their support for humanitarian access, which the Taliban actively, and of course their patron Pakistan, exploits to gain legitimacy, and as well as international aid resources to supplement Taliban's budget for further victimizing the people of Afghanistan and colonizing Afghanistan in gross violation of the United Nations Charter. We are not happy with the statements that have come from Washington, from President Biden, who made no mention of the Taliban, while the Taliban actually violated the Doha Agreement signed between the Taliban and the United States, with the elected government of Afghanistan, the president of Afghanistan, sidelined, excluded, nor with the statement of the Secretary of State, which is very light on the Taliban.
You know what, Ambassador Hydari, the American response is very similar to how it was when they neutralized Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad. It was a similar response with which they dealt with Pakistan. It's a similar response that we are seeing with the Afghans, with the Taliban. But here is the important part. I just want to play out what Sirajuddin Haqqani said, and let me tell our viewers, just 15 hours before the strike that terminated Zawahiri, this is what Sirajuddin Haqqani said on the position of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. Now, this also begs the question: did he know that Zawahiri was set to be eliminated, or was he just presenting a smokescreen? Listen in.
As we have promised to the world, also the Islamic world is in arms against the ISIS. To control and throw it out, many steps have been taken. With regard to Al-Qaeda, it has no presence in Afghanistan and is no more a threat, and the world is required not to feel threatened about the already dead outfit. Some Western forces which are trying to destabilize the country are being taken care of by the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan to control and contain these forces.
Now, this is what the impact on India could be, his death. One of the biggest aspects is that Al-Qaeda cadre, it may affect the morale of the Al-Qaeda cadre, and if the morale of the Al-Qaeda cadre is affected, then there could be a shift. This death may hamper operations of the Al-Qaeda affiliates, and you would have cadre who may just be disassociated and absolutely disillusioned. So they are like ripe for the picking for other jihadi outfits. They could join the Daesh Khorasan, they could be recruited by the Jaish, by the Lashkar, and they're just healthy pickings because they'll be hungry to prove themselves. And then they may just turn towards India. They may also shift, like I said, to Islamic State or the Daesh Khorasan, which is growing. Saif al-Adal, who's supposed to be likely the successor, even though no successor has been named. And if he is the one, he's far more notorious and dangerous, and he may actually expand field operations to try and counter this exodus, to show that the Al-Qaeda is still active. And that could happen, and the theatre of action could be India. Close ties between the Qaeda and Taliban is very, very evident. Al-Zawahiri was stationed in a posh Kabul neighborhood, and that house belonged to Sirajuddin Haqqani's key aide. That's what reports are suggesting. And mind you, Jalaluddin Haqqani, Sirajuddin Haqqani's father, and Ayman al-Zawahiri all collaborated. They worked together, including Osama bin Laden. Now, Taliban's safe haven may be actually extended to the likes of Jaish and Lashkar. So what are we to do? Pakistanis will say no camps operating on our soil. They may all be operating in Afghanistan. And tensions between Taliban and the Haqqani network over leaks to the US source. That's what also intel sources are saying. So there is a rift there within. So then who do you talk to, and is there going to be some turmoil? plenty of aspects to look at, but I'm compelled to take a short break. Ambassador Gurjeet Singh, Ambassador Hezri, and Major General Sanjay Edson, thank you very, very much. We're going to take a very, very short break. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. Right next to the phone. The numbers are flashing below. When we come back, we are playing the Tiranga quiz. Do you know your tricolor? Stay with us.